What I'm about to draw is with all due respect, though I am injecting a little bit of humor because I know you can't change people's minds by insulting them and much less lecturing them. Actually, I think many people prefer to be insulted because it gives them a reason to tell you to go fuck yourself. And that can feel good sometimes. Though I wish I could convince people to tell their political and religious leaders to go fuck themselves once and for all. Especially this particular peckerhead, Xi Jinping, China's current dictator-in-chief. It's mind-boggling how one man can manage to oppress and subjugate 1.3 billion people. How one man has managed to close down Christian churches and forced many Chinese to replace portraits of Jesus with his instead. How he has also managed to terrorize an ethnic minority of Chinese Muslims known as Uyghurs. And even those who managed to escape China are still persecuted with threats of having their relatives back home sent to re-education camps where some are tortured and even starved. And not only has this deceptively mild-mannered tyrant clamped down on Christianity and Islam, but he's also banned Winnie the Pooh because it was brought to his attention that he kinda sorta looks like him. But no man rules alone, of course. Xi Jinping has managed to pull this off, like many dictators before him, thanks to a police state comprised of mindless minions willing to conform without question and ultimately turn on their own people. This is accomplished with a network of nationwide security cameras and facial recognition glasses worn by police that allow the government to punish their citizens via a social credit system that punishes people for crimes ranging from jaywalking to using phones and laptops on airplanes when you're not supposed to. And the punishments can range from banning people from public transportation to not allowing people to get into better schools or even being employed. And now Xi Jinping has been expelling journalists such as Mega Raja Gopalan, who had reported on the persecution of Chinese Muslims for BuzzFeed. And it's interesting to note that BuzzFeed is one of those publications like the Huffington Post, Vox, and The Guardian, and many other media outlets that are unapologetically biased towards the quote-unquote progressive left and are pushing stories to promote socialist welfare policies such as free healthcare, free college, guaranteed employment, etc., which sound generous and altruistic, but have been historically proven to be financially ruinous to nations since nothing in life is free. Everything has a cost, but I don't want to get sidetracked with basic economics and math that most people who claim to be intellectual should understand by now. But worse than encouraging economic naivety and illiteracy, publications such as BuzzFeed, Vox, and The Guardian are as responsible for much of the racial and class divide as they blame Donald Trump for. They blow stories way out of clickbaiting proportion, particularly when it comes to racism, sexism, Islamophobia, etc. Yet they fail to report about the crimes of far-left extremist groups like Antifa and Black Lives Matter. Thanks to outlets like BuzzFeed, we're seeing the banning of their political polar opposites, such as far right-wing conspiracy theorists like Alex Jones, who was banned from YouTube, Facebook, and Apple's podcasting service all within hours of each other. And that's the thing. It would be understandable if Alex Jones was deplatformed for libel or slander regarding his inexcusable politicizing and conspiracy weaving of the Sandy Hook massacre in Newtown back in 2012, especially considering all the death threats that have been directed at the families of the victims who were killed. But instead, it seems Alex Jones is being punished for helping Donald Trump win the presidency by beating the Democrats at their own game of political subterfuge and skullduggery. However, this video is not about progressives or BuzzFeed or Alex Jones. This video is about Xi Jinping and his ever-creeping totalitarian control over not only China, but other countries and corporations as well as it becomes an economic global power. And when freedom of speech distorting outlets like BuzzFeed have something negative to say about China, it's time to take notice. And as a recovering Catholic who is now a born-again atheist, even I think banning religion is a problem. And I'm all for preaching, proselytizing, and even televangelizing the utter falsehoods and criminal hypocrisy of all religions. But to ban religion is an even bigger problem than it is to watch people continue to believe the demonstrably false, time-honored superstitions spewed in churches, temples, mosques, and synagogues, which usually leads to the banning of other cartoons like the drawing of Prophet Muhammad. And by the way, this is how evil works. It's not because of a fictitious character named Satan and his imaginary demons going around sabotaging all the good that is supposedly an all-knowing, all-loving God has created. These are medieval myths that somehow persist in the minds of otherwise good and intelligent people. What we describe as evil happens in societies thanks to the unfortunate fact that we're not all born with equal physical and mental aptitudes, let alone the capacity for empathy and understanding of others' situations. And there are people such as Xi Jinping who are as highly intelligent as they are ruthless in their will to power with absolute control. And there are more than enough other lesser intelligent but equally ruthless and unfeeling people willing to chew on the crumbs of petty power trips handed down to them from above, who in turn make the lives of good, decent people who are either too scared or too considerate of other people's suffering to fight back. And that's the interesting thing that I think many media outlets from both the liberal and conservative spectrum are failing to report regarding Xi Jinping's crackdown. The left fails to see the problem with communism, while the right fails to see the problem with religion. They're both toxic because they blind us to the realities of how life actually works, particularly when it comes to economics and scientifically proven realities about humanity. If I haven't lost you, the viewer, by now, please stick around. I'm about to wrap this up with a bow of sincere humility. After all, who am I to judge? For all my shit talking about China's human rights abuses, I'm one of the millions of Americans who buys cheaper products made in China thanks to their virtual slave labor. And I too know what it's like to have been religious at one point when I was younger. And I too used to think college and healthcare should be free and that all rich people were ruthless sociopaths like Donald Trump who would sell you poison just to buy themselves one more Learjet, until I realized how basic economics works and that those generalizations are just as toxic as racism and even religious bigotry. Though I do believe Donald Trump is a ruthless sociopathic narcissist who has cheated on his wives with overpriced hookers and is jeopardizing the future of our country tweet by tweet, but let me not get sidetracked by that. I say all this because when you really think about it, the world's problems are not that difficult to solve. If everyone followed the simple golden rule, don't be an asshole, that would be a great start. Unlike the Christian proverb, do unto others as you would have them do unto you, which actually requires action on people's parts, it would be so much easier if you don't do unto others as you don't want others to do unto you. This way you don't even have to be nice, just don't be a jerk. You don't have to say hello and smile, just don't push people out of your way and steal their wallets while you're at it. And much less spy and report on your neighbors thanks to directions from psychopathic dictators who care only about themselves no matter how much social good, order, and equality they claim they're trying to achieve. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please share it or hit the like button, or subscribe and click the bell to be notified of upcoming videos. And if you'd like to support this channel, please consider buying a t-shirt or some merchandise in the link below, or by monthly subscription via Patreon for as little as $1, or a simple one-time donation at paypal.me/homegrown.